The last step with Storybook is we want to actually deploy this. We want everyone to be able to go to a URL and see what we've built. So the first thing we're going to do, let's commit. Let's commit all of this. This is a very big commit, but let's do adding Storybook. Now we haven't actually initialized a Git repository here. So let's go and do that really quickly. Let's go to GitHub. And we're going to create a new repository. So my awesome design system. It's going to be public. Don't initialize with a README. You can. You totally can. I'm going to not, because I want you to see, if you haven't done this before, it actually gives you the steps here. So the first thing that we need to do, I'm going to split screen. The first thing that we need to do in our terminal, we can stop our dev server. I am going to write Git init. This is going to initialize an empty Git repository. I am then going to add the remote origin. I'm just going to copy this for lack of typo. So if you don't initialize with a README on GitHub, it will provide you with all of these links. I'm going to copy and paste that. So I've now set my upstream. I'm not going to push all that code. So git push upstream origin master. So now we should have a Git repository. It should have all of our code up on it. Great. Let's build Storybook. If we go back to package.json, if you remember, I said Storybook when we ran that npx command. It already provides a build Storybook command for you. So npm run build Storybook. Okay. This is going to build all of our Storybook files into a static folder, which we can then deploy to Netlify. So it creates a Storybook static folder, and it has all of our files in it. All right, so once Storybook is done building, you should see this Storybook static folder on your sidebar. So once it's done building, actually, let's go and log into Netlify. Netlify is an awesome tool for easily deploying sites. It allows you to create, add custom domains really easily. Their documentation is fantastic. Their team is fantastic, so I highly recommend using it. I use it for everything. So when you log in, you're going to create a new site from Git. This is why we push it to our Git repository. You can also use GitLab or Bitbucket, but we're going to use GitHub. So select GitHub. It's going to ask you to authenticate. I'm already authenticated. I have an absurd amount of old repositories, so let's search for design system. We can see that my awesome design system is recognized, so I'm going to click that one. As far as these build commands, when we build Storybook, it already gave us this command. So we want to run this specific command. We don't want to run yarn build. We'll run npm run build Storybook. In our published directory, you can see here, it published to Storybook static. So we want this to be Storybook static. Okay. All we have to do is hit deploy. It's going to work, hopefully, and it's going to be really great. This should probably take about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. And once it deploys, you can see this is the URL it's going to be at, and mystifying leaky doesn't sound super nice to me. So I'm going to go into domain settings here. Again, they make it super easy to add a custom domain, and their documentation on it is excellent. So if we just open this while it's deploying, you can see they have step-by-step instructions for how to actually change your DNS. So that's wonderful, but I don't have a custom domain, so I am just going to click options and edit the site name. And I'm going to make it called Emma's Awesome Style Guide. Why not? So when it is published, this is going to be the URL. This is actually exactly how I made the course website with Netlify. So it's very, very simple to use. Really like it a lot. So once this is published, it is now going to be readily available for everyone. And what's really nice is you can set up auto deploy. So anytime you push, it can build and redeploy, which is excellent. Since this is a static site, you can also publish this on GitHub Pages. So you don't have to use Netlify. If you want to deploy it to GitHub Pages, you can go into your settings and you can do it this way. Originally I had it this way, but then I thought Netlify was a lot more seamless. So if you want to use GitHub Pages, you can select your branch, and you can select the folder that you want to deploy. Typically they would go inside of docs. But Netlify is a lot nicer in my opinion to work with, so that's why we picked it today. Another really cool thing that you can do with Netlify is have auto previews for your pull requests or branches. You can integrate this with GitHub so that if someone opens a pull request or a branch, it'll auto preview it for you. It'll actually create a URL for you to use in that pull request, which is extremely nice. And one other feature of Netlify, unfortunately, it's paid, but to be honest, it's an excellent, excellent tool, is analytics. And so what this does is, if you're open sourcing your design system, for example, you probably want to aggregate data about who's accessing your style guide, where they come from. This is going to allow you to kind of prioritize different things. So if the majority of your traffic is coming from, I don't know, Europe or somewhere in Asia or somewhere else, you can kind of, like, for example, if you have a lot of people from Germany and we're accessing your style guide, perhaps you want to add in a language toggle to your storybook. That could be another configuration that you add in. Guess what? It's published. So we can actually go view it. And it looks great. This theme is really on brand. But yeah, your documentation is now public. You can view the docs here just like you would a traditional style guide. So that is a great way to share documentation with your company.